Preview this weekend's game at Ohio State.
Okay, I'd say great challenge for our football team. I think the biggest challenge right now is just continue to handle success as we go forward. Got a great opportunity as we go. History of the game is with Ohio State in the last 6 years has been one that's had great meaning, I think, for a lot of different throughout the season for us. Even last year it had a lot of meaning for us, as we had an opportunity to go down the stretch there. But pretty much, as I said, a great challenge waits for us down in Ohio. We've got 26 players from the state of Ohio. 10 of them start for us. So it's exciting for them to go down, play in front of really as close to their hometown probably as they can get, and I'm sure they'll be motivated for that. Where we're at right now is pretty much where we wanted to be, in control of our own situation, our destiny, I guess, or we at least can control some things. So that's where you want to be in November. We'll see how it all shakes out, and challenges wait. So I'll just take some questions.
Mark, with the play of Hunter Rison continuing to make big plays, I don't know if there's a whole lot of room to move him up the depth chart, but is that a guy you would like to see get some more touches, or to use your term, has he earned it?
Really, I mean, we pretty much play 6 guys, and so I really don't care who Coach Samuel puts in there. We'll rotate guys in. There'll be other guys that have opportunities as well, and really the bottom line is how you catch the ball and what do you do, and how's your blocking and different things. And Hunter's made the best of it. He's made some big plays for us, and he's becoming a reliable receiver. So I'm sure that those things will continue to improve. That time on the field.
Mark, at the start of the season, you talked about last year not being able to get it done in winning time, and this year you look all 5 of your Big Ten wins are by 8 points or less. Is there anything you can kind of put your finger on as being the difference and why you guys have been so successful at late in the game situations?
Well, I just think we're growing. We've taken. I think one of the reasons is when you look back at last year and you critique last year and you go back through it as a football team and you know the experiences and everything, you just try and do a little bit better. But I've always said it's been the inches. You got to find the inches in every football game, and to do that you got to look for them in every respect. And we've looked for those throughout last season in terms of critiquing it and all those type of things. So I think that's what you do. That's what every football team does. We had injuries last year, as I said. We played young players again last year. So we had some different things going on. We had 3 different quarterbacks playing last year at times. So there were a lot of different things, a lot of challenges that we were going through, and we lost some close games. We started out fast in the Notre Dame game and finished there, and then all of a sudden things started to unravel a little bit. But I still think we kept our competitive edge, as evidenced by Ohio State's game last year. We stayed competitive, but we just didn't get it done. So this season we're finding a couple inches, and they make all the difference.
Coach, in the back here,
yeah.
You've had success there playing in Columbus. What's unique about playing there, and what are the challenges that your young team faces, and what can you draw on from the successes you've had?
Well, first of all, Ohio State's a very talented team, so it's going to be a great challenge for us to go down there. Very well coached, and I'm sure they'll be ready to go. Michigan State has always, even before I came here, has always recruited the state of Ohio. I think when players go back, just like when we were in Michigan playing down the road there a little bit, there's a little bit extra incentive maybe for your preparation, and I think preparation is always key. So I don't really know the reason, beyond that. I just think that we've had good football teams here. We've been, we've won 3 Big Ten championships. I guess we've been in 3 of the championship games. So we've established ourselves as a pretty good team, so we've been able to compete. And, the competitive level at that height is, when you're competing for championships, you're playing against a good football team, and, we've eked some out, I guess. I don't know the reason for it. You can find the reasons when you look on the film, but I don't know what constitutes it continuing. You just got to play it game to game.
Mark, obviously we talk a lot about what the Michigan rivalry means to the Michigan players, but with so many Ohio kids that have done this before, what is it for them that's different when they go there? Is it just the fact that that's where they grew up? Is part of it they feel like they need to prove something to the Ohio State team? What is that dynamic with so many Ohio kids going back and playing at home?
Well, I just think as you go back, everybody from your hometown knows you're coming and knows you're playing, and you just get yourself a little bit more ready. I don't know. I don't think that's any different than playing up here in this state, or going back and playing from wherever, going down and play Georgia when Duquesne Denard was playing for us, and Keith Mumphrey. And it was very, very exciting to go play against Georgia in the Outback Bowl. So I just think that's a natural thing.
Mark, swagger is kind of a tough word because it sounds negative, but do you think your team is developing kind of a healthy swagger?
I think we're becoming a confident football team. As I said the other day, to our football team, I think we've got 598 snaps on defense, maybe 690 something. I can't remember the numbers on offense. So a lot of our young players now are more experienced players, and they've had some success and they've won on the field. I'm talking about winning their individual battles on the field. And they've lost some too, and they understand it's okay to lose some on the field, but they've got an opportunity to win some, and I think that breeds confidence in them, and they're able to play a little bit more sure of themselves. So this is a step-by-step process with all players, especially young players, and I think they're coming into their own a little bit. You can see that with our quarterback and our wide receivers. You can see our wide receivers have grown just in the course of 9 games. So we're playing better. I still don't think we've played our best game yet. I don't think we've peaked yet, so we'll continue to try and do that as we go, but we're playing with a competitive edge, I would say.
I guess looking back to the game here a couple of years ago when J.T. Barrett was a freshman, I guess, can you chart his, growth and development as a quarterback? And as a second component, is there any reason why the road team keeps winning in this series?
Well, I don't know about the second question, why that plays into it. I can tell you about 2014 that they punted once. I think it was on the last series, so we couldn't stop them. There was a lot of 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. He threw the ball very effectively, and he was a freshman at the time, and that's been 4 years ago. So he's had an outstanding career. He's been very, very successful, and he's won a lot of football games. So, it usually starts with, how do you defend him and all the different things he brings to the table. So we're going to try and do that and get ourselves focused for it.
Mark, right here. Mufi Hillhunt and Keonta Stallworth both got a chance to play on Saturday. Can you kind of just tell me what you kind of thought about their performance and their kind of evaluation throughout the season?
Well, we moved Mufi back from tight end back to the defensive line, so we didn't really expect him to play, but he did. I think he's got the athletic ability to play in there. He's a redshirt freshman, and I think he's got to play better. He's got to get better. He's got to learn a little bit more what to do at the defensive tackle position. But he went in there and gave us some snaps. Keonta played very well. I think he had 4 tackles and maybe 2 assists, had 20-plus plays. But Keonta was an outstanding defensive lineman in high school, offensive lineman and defensive lineman in high school. He made the transition to defensive line, and we've sort of been waiting for him to come on. So he's a little bit more advanced maybe in terms of the expectations at that point, just because he hasn't bounced around as much. Mufi's been a defensive end, tight end. Now he's a defensive tackle, but he's close to 280, 6'5", 280. He's very athletic. He just needs to learn it.
Mark, LJ was one of your bigger gets out of Ohio. Can you talk about what it was like recruiting him and kind of snagging him out of the grasp of Ohio State?
Yeah, LJ is a very good player out of Ohio, out of Hubbard, Ohio. I think he had a lot of opportunities to go pretty much where he wanted to go. He made the decision early on, really in, I think it was the summer or late spring, possibly of his junior year, before his senior year. And he just stayed, it was pretty, nondescript recruiting process, though. I mean, he never wavered. He stayed with it, and he was very casual about the whole process. But I think he was a big get, from Ohio, and I think he's been an outstanding player for us, and we'll look for more great things from him.
Coach, they come out, Ohio State comes out of a blowout loss, and you guys get a big win against a top 10 team, yet somehow you're a 16-point underdog. I mean,
It's gone 16, huh?
is that, I mean, can you believe that, or what's your reaction to that? I know it doesn't mean much, you know, per se, but are you getting the respect that you deserve?
Oh, I don't worry about that, you know. Shoot, I saw where Graham had a article about the playoffs in the paper. I was like, wow, we've come a ways. So, you know, I really think that that's for other people. I watch film, and I watch our players. I know we need to get better, and we need to do some things better on the field. And I also watch film to see how other people are playing, and we devise a plan to try and attack those things, and try and be confident in what we're doing, and make sure we play hard. And that's what we'll try and do. But I didn't know the spread, but there you go. We'll just have to roll the dice.
Mark Urban yesterday talked about how they're throwing the ball more than they used to traditionally in the past, and he says he hadn't watched much film on you guys, but said that same thing with you guys. He used to look at you as like 70-30, and it's not that way now. Does it make this year a little bit unique from the games you've coached against them in the past, just what you guys have been doing offensively lately, and the same for them?
We're going to find that out, what happens. I'm not sure what will happen.
Mark, I mean, he was talking a little bit about the point spread and the playoff and so forth. Is there any advantage with a young team to have them going into a game maybe feeling a little bit like they have nothing to lose in a spot like this, or do you want them embracing the pressure maybe a little bit more?
Well, we have a lot to lose. I mean, we're in control right now, so we do have a lot to lose, you know, and we want to stay in control. So that's how we'll play the game. You know, I can't. Some of the questions I can't really answer. You know, I'm just going to, like I said before, we're going to line up and go, play, and we're excited that we're in this, that we have this opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing right now. We're excited we have this opportunity, but we've worked for this opportunity, and we've channeled everything to get to November, knowing that last week was going to be a challenge, this week, and then the following 2 weeks. So, you know, every game, I think, as you go through November, every single game you play becomes bigger. It becomes bigger. You know, this is a big game this week. I understand that. Next week will be even better, a bigger game. And then the last week.
It seems like the last few weeks, you guys have been, I guess, loose, even with the growing pressure. Shouldn't you say pressure? The growing expectations and things that are ahead of you. But how has that been with this team in terms of the mentality and mindset over the course since fall camp? I mean, has it been that way pretty much since spring even, that these guys are loose?
Yeah, I would say, I really would say that. I would say that every day we come, you know, we have a young team. You know, I think there's, what did we say, 53 players that are freshmen or redshirt freshmen, so half of our football team is young. I think 78 players, we only have 9 seniors or 11 seniors on the team, I think. So everybody's excited about the next thing. We've got a number of players who've not gone to bowl game because we missed 1 year and we have such a young, so the freshmen and the true freshmen. So everybody's excited about the next thing. And I think that's good for people sometimes, and it does keep us loose. And, you know, we're going to just, we're just going to go. You know, we've gotten off a plane, took a bus. I don't think that had any effect on us winning or losing at Northwestern. You know, we sat for 3.5 hours this last week. I don't think that had any effect on us. You know, when we went up to Minnesota, we had a set for a half hour, had no effect on us. So we've really not allowed things to get into our head too much. We just said, okay, we got to make these plays, and this is what we got to do. And usually there's some good and there's some bad. You know, we certainly haven't played flawlessly. And there's a lot of things that we need to correct and be able to move forward on. So, you know, I think that, you know, somebody said we're playing with house money. I don't know. So we just keep going.
Coach, last week you played a pretty dynamic backfield, mobile quarterback McSorley, all-star really in Barkley. You kind of got the same matchup here with Barrett and Dobbins. Do you see those kind of similarities? And given what happened last week, does that give you more confidence in your defensive game plan to stop them?
There's some similarities, but there's some differences as well. You know, I think major differences in Ohio State and Penn State. So we got to look at those and make decisions on how to attack those things. But I think we have a little bit of a history with JT Barrett rather than McSorley. We played McSorley 2 years, and they are both dynamic quarterbacks, but they are different in terms of what they do at times. Ohio State has an extremely talented football team. When you look at them defensively, they're athletic, extremely athletic across the board, and they use a lot of players. On the offensive side of the ball, the same thing applies. Whether it's the wide receiver position, the quarterback position, the running back position, athletic offensive line, they got guys. So, again, I'll go back to what I first said, it'd be a great challenge for us going down there.
Mark, piggybacking off what you were talking about a minute ago with sort of every situation they responded, how much more, given the youth of this team, do you trust them now, how they've come out of the gate each week than you did 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Well, we've always played hard. I've never ever thought, hey, we don't play hard as a football team. But we didn't execute maybe as well as we're executing now. But I think that comes with experience. We have a talent level, a certain talent level. We need to get better in certain areas, and we need to always increase. And you know what I've always tried to tell our players is you have to overachieve here. You have to. And so we go about doing that every single day. And that's our mindset when we go out to practice. Our practices have been very, very good. You know, our film study, I think, is very good, and, you know, the attention to detail has been good. We're not doing everything flawlessly, like I said, but I do think that, you know, we have the right mindset moving forward.
Another topic you touched on, Ohio, and you've talked earlier in previous press conferences about how fertile a recruiting ground that is, and that's why you go there. But your time at Ohio State, the time then at Cincinnati, the relationship with Jim Tressel going back, how essential was all of that and your familiarity there in the early stages of building it here?
Well, I think it was critical, but it's not just my time at Ohio State and UC. You know, I'd been a graduate assistant at Ohio State for Earl Bruce. You know, I coached at the University of Akron. You know, I got my master's and was a GA at Ohio U. You know, when I was at Michigan State for 6 years with Nick Saban and then Bobby for 1, you know, I recruited Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, and everything in between up to Toledo. So when I was at Akron and then Youngstown State for 5 years, I recruited the Cleveland area and the Akron area. So I knew Ohio, and I knew where the good players were and the programs, not just the good players, but I knew the programs and the leagues and knew to be able to differentiate between this level of play and that level of play, who they're competing against. And we had great relationships with the high school coaches. But Michigan State has always had that with the state of Ohio, even going back to George Perlis and beyond. They've been, if you look at the '88 team, there were a lot of players from Ohio on that team. I just think that state has a large population base. They play good football. Their high school coaches coach very well. And so there's an abundance of high school players that can play at this level, more than most states. You know, Michigan, you know, is divided up between two schools, and you know, it gets a little bit more difficult. You know, in Ohio, it's got Ohio State, and then everybody else can sort of come in, and they have some equal footing based on maybe what their success they've had, or maybe based on their relationships. That's a long answer. Yeah.
With that background in Ohio, at one point in your career, it had to be your dream to be the Ohio State football coach, wasn't it?
Hey, I was just trying to make it, man. I was just trying to I was defensive coordinator. I was happy where I was at, and then went to UC and started head coach. I also had aspirations to maybe come here someday. So,
how far is Zanesville from Columbus? I don't know.
About 55 miles.
So what's it like walking into that horseshoe and coaching, not only where your roots are, but where you spent time and helped a national champion? What's it like going in there?
No, it's sort of exciting, I guess I'd say. Usually, sometimes you get a beat down and it's not too exciting, you know. But been up there when I was at UC. We'd been up there a couple times. So, and certainly when I've been here, we've been there. So, but. You know, it's the same, you know, a little bit the same for me as it probably would be a player. it's an opportunity to go back.
56 and 57 attempts for Brian in the last 2 games. I think that's more than any other guy since you've been here.
Yeah.
Do you feel...
And he scrambled some, too.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel comfortable asking that of him on a regular basis? And I guess what has he kind of shown you that's made him capable of taking on such a heavy load at an early stage in his career?
Well, I think every game dictates that situation, you know. There's been other times we haven't thrown that much. So the game itself dictates how much we're going to throw based on how well we're doing other things or what the situation is of the game and really what the sticks say, you know, down and distance says. So am I comfortable throwing that many times? As long as we don't have a lot of interceptions, yeah, I would be comfortable. As long as we have a lot of completions. But it's normally not good, I don't think, if you have to throw it that many times. But we were successful. We won the football game, so everybody's happy.
2 questions. I'll ask them separately. First, much more important than football. You and I are men who've lost our fathers, but we were older in life. Can't imagine the devastation for Josh. How's he doing personally?
Josh hanging in there. I talked with him this morning, you know, so he's coming back today, this evening, and then he'll be here for a couple days to get things squared away, and then he'll go back down. The funeral's on Saturday, so he'll miss the game. So it's been difficult. You know, he is basically he's the person that's sort of in charge. You know, going to the funeral home, doing the different things that has to be done, which you could imagine at that age, at 20 years old, how difficult that must be. So I know he appreciates the outpouring of support from people across Spartan Nation, but he's okay. He's doing okay, but I think it's a day-to-day thing for him, and obviously a very, very difficult situation, and our prayers are with him.
Secondly, Tressel loved you, but he has talked about he had to basically kick you out of the nest, said you were ready to be a head coach and felt like he had to push you a little bit. When you look at all your ties to Ohio State, being from Zanesville, and is there also a part of going home? I mean, being there, mom's still there, all of that when you play with the Ohio State?
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of relatives there, both my wife and myself, and, you know, certainly from down the road there, you know, from, 55 miles away from Zanesville, and so we have a lot of people there. My high school coach still comes up here to games and things like that, so Coach App will be excited to see that, to watch that game, but it is a little bit like going home, but I'm not going there in red, scarlet. So there is a difference. So, but I don't know if I'm answering that question right.
Mark, when's the last time you talked to Jim Tressel? And obviously he loves Ohio State, but when you go into the Horseshoe and win, as opposed to some other team doing it, you think he has a little smile on his face?
I talk to Tressel quite often, you know, usually, especially during the football season. You know, I talked to him this last week before our Penn State game. So we talk every now and then and just sort of catch up and, you know, talk about football or whatever the case. So I always, he has a calming effect on me. So I just look for that when I call him. I just look for a little calming effect. So probably call him again this week.
Any other questions?
All right, guys, thanks.